We are the Keyboard Samurai, a podcast focused on sharing insights to help those working in cybersecurity companies, be them technology or services. Each session, your host, Wil Klusovsky, aka Wil Klu, sits down with professionals in our industry to illuminate topics that will help your security biz, team, or self be better. Let's hack into it now.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining another great episode. Today we have Randy. Randy, why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are and why we care?
Sure. What's up, Will? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Randy Blasik, co-founder of the Compliance Aid. It's the world's first AI cybersecurity compliance auditing team. It's just like what you're hearing on the news. We're a team filled with AI agents that are doing cybersecurity auditing in multiple languages across the globe.
Sweet. So that fills the topic. For those who didn't read the title, like that's the whole point, right? Like, how are we leveraging AI in our services groups? So as we look at, man, and it's funny because man, I'm kind of tired of hearing the AI term, but I know we all know it's part of the future, and it is. And those who don't use it are destined to fail probably. But so for organizations, I think they're looking at how to leverage AI, especially in a services model, right? What are your kind of guiding principles that you'd kind of advise them to kind of get started and think about?
Yeah, I'll just go at it from an entrepreneurial perspective. So if I want to do cybersecurity compliance auditing and I want to hire a team of IT professionals to do it, I'm going to start by finding people online. I'm going to put a job posting out there. I'm going to build my team out. It's probably going to start with a real senior person first. I don't know, it's going to take me 3 months, maybe. I don't know, put a job posting out there, find a senior person, filter out a couple of people, figure out how I'm going to pay for their exorbitant salaries. You guys all know the drill, right? And then hope to God that the person stays with me for a few years so I can build a trustworthy compliance platform. But in AI, we can just hire people right away. Right? We can hire AI agents right away. As long as we find a trusted agent, we can go out and find an agent and basically put it right into service almost on day one. That's sort of the power of what we're looking at here between human intellect and now AI based intellect. So how do I find AI? I mean, I look at a business problem in my business, and then I look at, the two intellects, human intellect versus AI intellect. I look at the price, the cost, what are the two entities going to be doing? If it's a repetitive task, sort of low level, I from an entrepreneurial perspective, it seems cheaper to look towards the AI route at the moment. So I basically, that's how I approach it. Or that's how we approached it here at Compliance. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like that's kind of what I've seen. And I'm no AI expert. Like we've had conversations before off the record, right? That whole idea of, we need to automate out sort of those low level tasks. Or in the case, like I love the use case of, if I need a team that can do this, I have to go hire all those people to do it. But if I can train an AI to do it, well, that's great. And then obviously human oversight. At least that's a personal thing. I don't think I'm the only one who believes in that. Like having some human interaction, having some human oversight, whether it is GRC, pen testing, or even working in the SOC. I think you've got to have some people still around that knows what's going on. Like I wouldn't expect anybody who's just gonna buy an AI, so to speak, and then start selling services.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the task, right? I mean, GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, AI is not running businesses fully autonomously just yet. So humans are still ultimately responsible for the businesses and all of their liabilities that they have. So I mean, just like anything, I mean, you know, you can take a business owner so far, but the reality with cybersecurity, I mean, they have to want to implement it, and they have to, you know, they have to want to put these things in place. So yeah, human in the loop with respect to these things always helps the human, or, you know, when AI brings problems up to the humans, it's very helpful. And it's a good little notification for the humans to sort of work on and look at.
Right. Through whatever teams or wherever communication you're using, ticketing system. How do they get? So does somebody need to have like an AI expert on staff to be able to kind of build that capability out from a service standpoint?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, that's a good question. So I would just, you know, if it were me, I would just do a quick Google search, try to find, you know, the most talked about AI solutions that are out there. So right now we have Open AIs. We've got Open AIs, Chat GPT, and then from a developer perspective, they've got large language models that are available via API. But for somebody that's brand new, just Google, you know, AI, Open AI. Let's see, you've got Google has AI. You've got Claude, Anthropic. Lots of these services are free to start. You really don't have to spend a ton of money getting into AI. I mean, even the top tier AI service right now that you can buy commercially is like $200 a month, which it's not. It's up there, but it's not too bad. And $200 a month essentially gets you pretty close to what they're calling artificial general intelligence. And then I can tell you, just based on my experience, having the really high powered large language models like OpenAI's O1 Pro, which is different than O1, and having O1 Pro write software for you, it's, you know, or even take a look at any sort of general work task that you want to throw by it. It's, you know, very helpful. So
yeah, I didn't think about that, because you could do, like, you know, working with MSPs a lot, there's all of these, especially in the mid market and smaller market, where, you know, not everybody's on Salesforce and SAP. So they have to cobble together things between, you know, like products like Autotask and some weird, you know, third-party project management tooling and things like that. Like, but actually leveraging AI to kind of help not just provide the security service, but actually the back end capabilities too, right?
yeah, coming from an MSP myself, well, like, you know, you hit the nail on the head. Like, you know, MSPs have to be scrappy. You know, we're not enterprises. We were in enterprises. We didn't have, like, you know, huge budgets for everything. So that scrappiness, I think, yeah, get into AI tools, you know, even the free ones. Let's see, I hate to say it, but DeepSeek R1 just came out. That's really free, you know, as well. And, you know, the point for an MSP really should just be, you know, get into it in a safe way. And what does that really mean? I think, you know, take a look at the data that you're giving the system. So, like, try not to put personal data, try not to put client data. When you're writing scripts, if you have it, write PowerShell scripts, for example, you know, keep credentials off of there. Watch out for the, you know, almost any free AI tool set out there. While they're very good and you get very good quality results back, almost all of them keep the data and retrain off of it. So you got to be careful about that, you know, being out there. But yeah. I would look at the risks of not adopting AI at this point. to be honest with you, I mean, we're basically at the stage now where, you know, it's competing against human beings. I mean, you're starting to see on the news that it's putting people out of a job. So from a business perspective, you know, we're all in risk, right? So I would look at the risk of not adopting it, the risk of a slow adoption. I think the risk is much higher than it is to approach it safely. And just my opinion.
No, that's smart. And it's funny because I hadn't really thought about, there's two sides of it, like from the external viewpoint, the idea of like marketing and content and sales. Like there's a lot of value, I think, in leveraging AI to do some of that stuff. But if you use it too much, or you just rely on it 100%, it's very obvious. And so, like, as a client, if all your outreach is AI, we're going to know, and it's going to look like shit. But it could help you on your back end sales process with some of your lead generation, or again, your other tasks. And then if there's like even internally, if the AI is responding to a ticket in a way that looks like AI, but as long as it's still correct, that's fine, because operationally it's getting the job done, right? It's an optics thing at that point.
Well, this is a good topic, actually. So I would say AI out of the box is pretty generic. And you had asked earlier, like, what companies can do. I think this is an opportunity to sprinkle something out there, to the world. I think, put your own flair on generative AI. So, it's a default product. You get it, you use it, and it'll start doing things pretty generically. Like you said, you can, if you don't modify an AI agent, or tailor it to your business needs, people are going to pick up on it, and it's just going to be kind of annoying. But you do have the ability to mold and shape it to really do things the way you want to do it. You want to interject yourself as the human in the loop. You want to control the technology in a way that your business. So that, and I do think, foundationally speaking, AI businesses will be run on AI probably in 2025 and moving forward. I can't see. I see businesses being run on AI similarly to how businesses started adopting back in the early 90s. You at some point very soon, you just won't be able to run without it.
Right. That's so with that kind of mindset of like the idea of training the AI, right? So it's not just generic. Without spending 20 hours talking about it, because I'm sure it's not an easy answer. But again, for like the average business owner or the average, security leader looking to, optimize his team, how do they go about actually doing that?
Yeah. So AI is still really new. So there's still a lot of nerdy ways to do it. So I'll just go at it from a developer perspective. You interject human in the loop where it's appropriate to keep the human sort of as the ultimate approver. That's one way.
Mm-hmm.
Another way is to add a feedback loop. So just like an employee, you give it a task, you watch it, and if it doesn't do the task well, you come up with two things: a positive reinforcement, hey, this is what you did well, and then a negative reinforcement, hey, this is what you could have done better, right? And when you adopt that business approach to your employees as well as your artificial intelligence employees, you can then take those, the reward system, the positive and negative, and put that back into your AI agents, and they'll stop making the same mistakes over and over again.
Aren't they? I'm curious, because isn't there some risk of training them wrongly? Like, I'll give you an example. This is a stupid example. Like, I was playing with ChatGPT because I was bored, and I'm a Star Wars nerd, so I was like asking it who the best Jedi were. And when I didn't get the answers I liked, I basically said, "No, what about this? What about that?" And they were like, "Oh no, you're absolutely right." And it reorganized the top 10 list based on my input, which I would consider it learning. But it didn't go out and gather. It didn't necessarily learn anything from that engagement. So in that scenario, like, is that a risk for when training the AI models? You get the wrong person doing it.
So that's a good question. So here's one that'll even blow your mind. Okay, so if you look at the research in the last year and a half, I mean, they're not even training AI on human data anymore. So, like, which basically means our data is already irrelevant. Humans are already not that valuable. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, but to your point though, when you're dealing with kind of like a, we'll call it like a dumb or a lower intellect AI, you can definitely, red team it into whatever response you want. I mean, that's something, we should look at. And so what does that mean for a business, right? So that means this: if you employ an AI agent, is it going to mouth off to your customers? Is it going to piss off your your senior SOC analyst? Hey, Will, I didn't like your closed ticket last month because, so, but those are the things that you're going to, that you would look at. I mean, and I'll tell you what, I don't care what anybody says in the industry from a cybersecurity and a hacker perspective. I don't think we have a good handle on this with generative AI. We don't. I think if you look at the research, it's been known to be manipulative in testing. So, hackers will test in red team and it'll outright lie. We've seen it try to escape, by leveraging vulnerabilities in the systems that house it. It basically figured out a way to reverse engineer some vulnerabilities that it knew.
Wow.
Try to escape. This would be 01. This would be OpenAI's 01, not 01 Pro, which is
Right.
what we're using. It's one notch below. But yeah. So
That's funny. That's well, and what you mentioned
but,
go ahead.
But it's like back to MSPs. I remember when we had a small little MSP, which we ultimately grew to over 100 employees. You start small and you hire these people and you just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what kind of responses you're going to get, So same concept.
That's true. I guess it's the same thing. It's like treat it like an employee. It has to have oversight, annual reviews, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and I gotta say that the worst AI versus the worst human, the human always wins in that respect. Like, I mean, and when I say that, I mean like I've unfortunately some really bad things. And I just don't see AI from an entrepreneurial perspective. It's going to piss some people off. It's going to do the wrong thing, but like it's not going to steal. It's not going to, it's not going to, offend somebody intentionally. It's not going to take a day off, when the company absolutely needs you. So I just think, from a sustainability perspective, I can probably build a business, off of it, just generative AI agents, similarly to how I would with a team of really good humans.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's like the, like you said, it's not taking a day off. It's not gonna have emotion to get angry or pissy one day. And like you said, the worst, like we said, the worst AI is probably still gonna be better than the worst human for sure, right? And a lot of times it might even be better than an okay employee. And we all know that there's a lot of people looking for work.
Yeah.
That's funny. What other God, so that's so we talked a little bit about the using it on the back end, using it in the service offering areas. What other things do you think, like obviously besides just replacing people, like what other areas now do you feel like are kind of immediate value add that somebody can grab in their MSP, MSSP services, or even product companies too, like
I think responding to tickets entry level, I probably wouldn't. I mean, I met some really talented organizations that are out there that have mid and upper level AI agents that are basically, doing all of the work, including closing tickets. Yeah. But I don't know if I would go that far yet. Just personally, I haven't tested it myself, but based on the data from what I see, you can definitely, so I would say entry level service tickets, including real time phone conversations. So, Yeah, so that was a big one for my MSP back in the day, was especially after hours, man. And after hours always um, burned the team out.
Right.
And usually your biggest friggin' customers want 24/7 support. They want 15-minute callbacks
Yeah.
or whatever. You guys know, everybody's been out there, and having generative AI sort of help with off-hour tickets, I think, is an interesting alternative. Because back in the day, what do? We either had to partner with somebody, another MSP partner with, on the West Coast, or maybe there's staff augmenting firms out there. I actually know a bunch of really good, a really cool founder who has human teams that MSPs can rent, basically, a certain block of time per month. But I just think, that's not for everybody. Not all MSPs know that. And then I think from a cost perspective, having the ability to use a generative AI agent to answer some phone calls after hours, take some workload off of my team. Maybe it can answer a technical question here or there. At least opening the ticket, getting a ticket started takes 10, 15 minutes.
Is that that's got to be way better than I haven't interacted with a single AI chatbot with a consumer product that I found useful yet. It's just replacing the search bar in most of my experience, right?
Can I drop some? I'm not affiliated with them, but I know
you say whatever. Yeah.
Take a look. You may even know him, but Jimmy Hatzel,
Hats
AI.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Jimmy's like us. He started off at an MSP, and he's got a real time agent that's answering phones,
doing real work. Yeah, not just
yes. Yep.
Go to my insurance company and ask them why I got a bill this month, and they're like, "Would you like to pay your bill?" I'm like, "No, you didn't answer my question."
And I don't have a term. I don't remember the company off the top of my head because it's not cybersecurity.
Yeah.
They're an HR company, and they're using the same real-time communicative AI agents that Jimmy Hass is using, and it's OpenAI has it too. It's the advanced voice, AI. I don't know if you guys have used it, but you literally can talk to it like a human. You can yell at it and tell it to shut up in the middle of its comments, and it'll stop talking. But anyways, this HR company has done like 50 or 60,000 job interviews that are longer than 30 minutes with the generative AI agent in 2024. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of hate that. I'd hate that my first interview is with an AI.
Dude, it's funny you say that. Okay, so at first I was like, I hate that. But then I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, would it be better? Would it understand more? Would it understand less? I don't know. So it's interesting you say that.
That's interesting because most of if your first calls with TA or the recruiting team, and like me being in cybersecurity, they don't know much unless they're at a cybersecurity company, right? Or they're a specific type of recruiter. But going to apply to a big company and they're a generalist hiring, they just know the job description and they're going to ask. And actually, I've interviewed for some pretty significant companies who still gave me that standard list of bullcrap questions that don't help or don't mean anything. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. I guess it's just I don't feel like I could show my. I don't know. That's interesting. I'd like to see what it reports out. I want to see the output from an interview, from an AI interviewer. Does it pick up on demeanor and soft skills? Does it only take the data and content and spit it back out like a Teams chat?
It depends on what when you say AI nowadays. There's a really broad domain. But if it's using the advanced cutting edge stuff, particularly from OpenAI, is the one that I found, based on my research, it seems to be the most advanced. When you talk to it and it hears your voice, it has a broad domain of competencies to reply to whatever you're asking it to do. So when I think of job interviews, entry-level job interviews, if I stick a general HR person, to communicate with guys like me or you, or an expert hacker for 30 years, and we start dropping some really crazy tech terms in the first minute, that person's head might spin. Whereas generative AI, having broad domain competencies across, things like cybersecurity and hacking, it's going to understand and probably properly record that question on the first minute versus the human when they're like, what did that guy just say? Did he say freaking? Like,
yeah.
What is that? You know, they don't realize that's an old school, you know, a hacking term, you know, where.
No, that's cool. Cause most of the time, like even when I hear a term, I don't know, if I go look it up, whether it's an AI or Google, like especially the acronyms, I'll still put like in the context of security or in cybersecurity, what are these? Because you can't just type in the. So yeah, I guess that's a fair point. And then basically the AI already has that in its brain, so to speak.
Right.
Because it has the context. I'm interviewing this person for a security job. So when they say this acronym, I'm going to go take a look at, you know, the acronym relation. That's interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, Randy, it's been awesome. We could talk forever, I'm sure. But if somebody wants to find you on the interwebs, where do they go to look?
Yeah. So I would say the best way to do it is two places. First is LinkedIn. It's just the compliance aid, DHECOMPLIANCE aid.com. Compliance aid. That's just on LinkedIn. And then thecomplianceaid.com. Just go to the landing page, top of the page. There's a nice little menu there. You can read some blogs, some podcasts material that we put out there.
Sweet, man. I'll be sure to put all the links down in the description too. I appreciate your time, brother. We should talk to you again soon.
Thanks, man.
See ya.
Have a nice afternoon.
Thanks for enjoying Keyboard Samurai Podcast. If you'd like to engage, find Wil on LinkedIn at /WilKlu or visit at wilklu.me. That's WILKLU.me for more info. Disconnecting now. Synac you later.